Hey folks, Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, AncestryLands.com. How you doing today, folks? Today we're going to talk about a little topic here as I try to, as you can see, narrowly avoid threading my needle between these two cars. Well, a car and a truck, whatever else. And I want to talk to you about, in order for you to achieve, you got to leave some people behind. And what do I mean by that? In order to succeed in life, you're going to have to leave, they talk about getting out of your comfort zone. They talk about doing things that make you grow, things that will challenge you to be better, to overcome adversity. We talked about measure of discipline. But again, one of the things that most people do not understand, or they do not understand is necessary, as I've spoke to you all before about the law of equivalent exchange, is that you are going to have to leave some people behind. That may be your family members, that could be loved ones, that could be a list or a litany of people, because you're going to have to leave some of your older ways. Thank you. Appreciate it, bud. You're going to have to leave some of the old habits. Let me just wave my man down. Thank you. Let me in there. Be courteous and kind. And you're going to have to leave. When I say leave people behind, you're going to have to leave parts of yourself behind. In the simplest way of putting this is like, you're in the hood, right? Or you're in a non-affluent family. You're in you come from lesser means or a lesser economic, socioeconomic level of society. Well, and if you want to be successful, you're going to have to be around people who don't necessarily come from that same environment, or may not be actively present in that environment. Meaning that you're going to have to be around people who might be wealthy, people who come from higher socioeconomic areas. And what you'll see is that the people who are in your environment where you started will not be part of the same environment where you end or where you're ascending to. That could be family members. Now, don't forget, when you start towards your journey of success and you start towards your ascension, there will always be people who are waiting to see you succeed in order to believe that you can be successful. Let me start that back over, because everybody experiences this, I myself included. And again, I'm always going to say this, that you don't necessarily have to watch this video, because my talking points are worth being heard if you're doing anything. If you're doing the dishes, taking care of your kids, whatever else, pop an earpiece in and listen to what I have to tell you, because it still is going to make sense whether you see me or not. But I always make sure that you have the drive and the ride, as a little bit of just for your viewing pleasure. But again, you will have people that are waiting and watching to see if you succeed, and waiting for that confirmation in order to believe that you're going to be successful. The belief is not up front. It's not the front investment that is given to you. It's always given after there's evidence of success or confirmation that you're going to be successful. It's not there when you're trying to work through and you get, like in my case, the first property. As I've gone to friends and families, as most natural people do, you go to your immediate circle and environment to look for people to invest in you so you can be successful. When you hear about Jeff Bezos and people like Bill Gates and other people who started and they get these funding from their family and their close friends, I believe that's a rarity. I don't think that is commonplace for the average person. Even Jeff Bezos, he got like what, 200, like $1 million of, beginning capital at first, to get started with Amazon when he got that upfront capital. A lot of people's families, they don't have that to give. They don't have those resources available, even on a smaller scale. So you're looking for people who are not at your level. And the reason why Jeff Bezos worked is because his family was in a higher socioeconomic level where they could believe and invest in his idea to achieve wealth. And what a hell of a return it is on that investment. But a lot of our family members, they're not going to do that because, for one, they're not in the socioeconomic level or the environment that we're looking to ascend to. If they were, then this wouldn't be, it would be a non-issue, because it would be no different than any other business investment that you interact with or you have when you're looking to invest in a business, right? I mean, you don't need to talk to a stock person about, oh, so you're just not going to let me through, you're going to be a jerk off. Okay, got it. Okay, so I'm going to do this then. Let me get in front of you, fam. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. So he's going to be a jerk about it. Now I'm going to get in front of him. So what is he going to do now? He just wave off my guy here. Thank you. See, that always, when somebody lets you in front, even if you're cutting in front, if you just give them the little hands up, let them know, hey, thanks, man. Wave them up. Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much. That is a sign. It gives people that little bit of like humility, you know? Thank you so much. But again, they're like in my case, you know, when I was looking for that, I was talking to people who were striving to succeed themselves. So they weren't people that were looking to invest like I was. They didn't have the investment mindset. They didn't have the idea of being an investor. Now, it came a lot later when I actually started becoming more of a property investor. Then everybody wanted to buy from me at that point. But up front, no, it wasn't happening like that. Not one bit. But again, I was not looking at people who were active investors, real estate investors, and other things like that. I was looking at people from my circle, my network, to say I want to enrich others and the people around me. And that went for family too. No one was biting that apple, because they were looking at me as Philip the nurse, this guy who never done business before. You know, I don't know. It didn't matter what it is. They would give money to a stranger before they would give money to me. True statement. They would put thousands of dollars into the hands of a person they never knew, never had a work ethic confirmation, never had any idea that this person was going to be successful. They would hand that money over to them in a heartbeat. And it didn't matter how honest or whatever else, but that was par for the course. That wasn't a determining factor for me to start my journey to be successful. It wasn't. It wasn't required. It would have been helpful, but it wasn't required. And again, when you're letting other people dictate whether you're going to be successful or not, I don't necessarily know if you're going to be successful, because you're looking for affirmation in order for you to start. You know, I've said this to my wife all the time. She needs my approval, my affirmation, in order to say, hey, I'm going to do something. And I'm like, well, you didn't need that when you got your college degree. So when you have a business idea, you should not need my affirmation if it's something that you really want to go forward with. You know, but again, I tell her that a lot of times that I'm telling her no, or I don't like certain business ideas, because she didn't do her research and didn't do any due diligence. You know, and I can see whether she wants to really do that or not, because after I say no, does she do any follow-up? Does she present it back to me? Does she go back and say, hey, I found more information? If it's more of a, hey, you don't let me do what I want, that's pretty much, you know, I'm not going to bend to that, and you shouldn't either. But again, you're going to have to succeed and go past that. Now, what's going to happen is you're not going to get support from the people around you. Not your mom, not your dad. No one's going to have money to throw in at that initial idea, all right? So we already know that's going to happen. We already know that that's part of the checkpoint of being successful, all right? If you have that, now if you got somebody who's going to give you money, all well and good too, one up for you. But if you're starting off at a point where you got to do it yourself, you can't be mad at people who don't support your idea. That's part of the checkpoint. I didn't write people off because they didn't help invest in Ancestry Lands when Ancestry Lands was getting started. That wasn't a requirement. It just meant that it was their opportunity to miss the investment point. But it wasn't a requirement. So again, I'm going to say that that's a checkpoint. When that's happening now, good. Now you're going to do the work. You're going to build up the ideas. You're going to work the long, hard hours. You're going to do 16-hour days. You're going to put in the overtime. You're going to work towards your goal. You're going to work and take your extra money that you do working overtime, and you're going to invest in your business. Now, at some point, you will hit your mark and start becoming successful. You'll start talking about your achievements. You'll start talking about milestones that you hit. And along then will come jealousy and hate. And the jealousy and hate will come from the same people that you're looking to and went to ask to invest in this idea. And now people are going to be jealous of you being happy that you've achieved something. And it's crazy. It's going to boggle your mind, because you're going to look at it and it's like, I'll do it to like this. It's like you being a student who is a C/D student. You study, you get good grades, and you end up becoming on the honor roll, right? And your parents end up becoming mad that you're happy and proud of the fact that you got on the honor roll. That's like how much it does not make sense. Especially since your parents, reprimanded you for not having good grades. You know what I mean? Like, when you're not doing well, your family will tell you how you ain't ish. You ain't doing this. They'll talk behind your back. They'll have more to say. Then when you start doing well, they'll hate you for that too. But that's going to happen. And what you're going through is a metamorphosis. You're changing like a caterpillar changing into a butterfly. You're becoming a different being, because what they start to see is that your conversation changes. You might want to talk about things more than negativity and people not doing well, because you're going to start inserting your successes and the things that you've learned and the knowledge that you've acquired. And what do we do when we learn something? What do we always want to do as human beings? We naturally want to share it, right? It was said in the Greek mythology that when Prometheus gave man the knowledge of fire was commonly shed, and it increased knowledge amongst men. In Greek mythology, Prometheus, who was part of the Titans, if you have been educated, and if you don't, watch the story, listen to it, or go Google it. But man chose to spread the knowledge of fire throughout all of mankind, which led to man becoming more intelligent and using fire to cook food and also to provide warmth and shelter. Knowledge which was said to be knowledge of the gods. And I use that story as an example of, you will naturally discover your own fire and want to share that knowledge. And you do it to say, I can light the biggest fire? No, you do that to let people know, hey, I'm on a path to be able to, generally what you want to do is be in a position to help people. The same people that criticize you wanted you to aspire to be more. And the second you start hitting that mark, people start turning. And what you're experiencing is people rejecting you because they are rejecting themselves. You now cast a light which illuminates the shadow of their failure. Because people now have your success to measure against their own success. Which is why you hear a lot of affluent people tell you, you need to surround yourself with people who are like you and above you. You know why they say like you and above you? Because the people who are like you will be motivated by your story and inspired by your story. And also the people above you will also look at your story and say, he can achieve what I can achieve. He's on his way. They're not there to compete against you. They're there to look at you as, is there something that they can benefit from by being there, a part of your group, part of your resource. They have people who are willing to work for it, not looking to take from them. Because you're not looking to take from what someone else has. You're looking to acquire what they have through your own efforts, your own actions. And there's verification because you're in that group and they can see your measure of discipline, like Don Coombs and I have talked about. They can see your measure of discipline. They can see your measure of achievement. They can see some level of success. And they also can tell your mentality, your mindset, which we talk about often. You can tell very quickly conversations of people whose children are raised, or the children of people who are wealthy, by the things that they discuss, by the clothing that they like to wear, the brands they like to go to, the places they vacation. You can tell by listening to those people and people who take normal, regular family vacations that do not have wealth. The clothing brand, the places that they purchase, the places they go to eat, the grocery stores that they regularly visit will not always be the Walmarts. Not saying anything bad about Walmarts, but they will tend to go to places like Whole Food, Target, Trader Joe's, and other places, Sprouts. If you know what Sprouts is, they'll tend to have different diets. They'll consume different levels of coffee. Their vernacular will change. The clothing brand, where they buy purses at, all these basic items will have different levels of association as you see wealth being accumulated. And they're not going to think about whether you're going to take it. They can discuss success because they're in a room full of people who are successful. So no one feels inferior by the word of by the word or the sound of success entering in the room. If anything, they want to be close to. They don't want to miss out. They want to gravitate towards that. They want to have conversations to figure out if there's anything that they can utilize from your success to make them more successful. It's an integrative group, not a competitive group. The giving of knowledge or information or resources is freely flowing because there's an expectation of being given back to. You always pay it forward. Because they're in an environment where people are not necessarily competing against each other. They're competing with each other, not against. There's a difference. We have someone else that's training to become number one. You now training harder to make sure that they stay number two. But at the same time, you don't mind sparring to understand how to get better. You're not hiding out of trying or fear that someone's going to take your spot. You're now competing and making sure that you can become better because you want to evolve into a more successful being. And you appreciate that rivalry because without it, you would not evolve past your limitations. You would always be at a level of plateau. So again, in that pathway, you have to understand that those haters are part of that journey. And what you got to do is start separating yourself to get around that group that I talked about. Because those people will welcome you where others will tell you to go away. They won't invite you more. They won't take you places or want you to go around there. Because again, you'll find yourself being around these people and having less to converse about. Because again, they will always talk about other people or other events. It won't be about what your accomplishments are. That's one thing I've learned, is that when I talk to people who are doing nothing, they're generally talking about someone else. When I talk about people who are doing something, they tend to talk about what they've done or what they're looking to achieve. When you ask someone who's going to college what they're doing with their life, they'll tell you what they're studying, what the year they're in, and how they've done so far. When you're talking to someone who didn't go to school, they'll tell you about, how they got a problem with this person, that person, this person, that person. Because again, they're not talking about their accomplishments. They're talking about their problems. You've got to get in a place where you could talk about accomplishments with other people who can be of benefit, who have different modalities or different areas or different systems that they're employing to make sure that you're talking to people who can add value to your conversation. People who can listen and people who you want to listen to. During the Great Wolf Lodge, I sat there and I was with Don Combs and his wife, Mrs. Combs, and I was in there having conversations about things that are of value, things that are coming up, things that are higher level than myself, and things that I'm doing to be of use to them. And again, you're going to have to get your... Now, is that the friends I grew up with? Is that the friends I have in high school, even college? No. The friends I have in college are few friends that I currently have now. You're going to have to leave people behind. You're going to have to leave siblings behind. You're not going to be able to talk to them as much because, again, the people in the hood are staying in the hood mentality. Jay-Z's gotten out of the hood. 50 Cent's got out of the hood. And rarely do they go back unless they're giving something on a more greater scale to the hood. But they're not in the hood. Which means you got to leave certain things behind. You got to do different things in order to get yourself to a different place. But you can't do the same thing expecting different results and expect not to be, labeled insane because you're doing the definition of insanity. You got to change your behaviors. You got to change your actions. You got to change how you move. You got to make sure that you avoid situations where normally you might get caught up. You can't afford that now because you got things to lose. And that's a great situation, is that I used to be reactive to negative situations, prone to do things that could be violent. And now that I have more to lose, I've got to move in a different way. I've got to do more avoiding of negative situations than I need to do responding to them. Because I've got to think about what I have to lose. The more I have to lose, the more I have to avoid responding to situations which would put me in a scenario to lose everything. And you see people fall time and time again because they don't separate themselves from people who are looking to take them down, intentionally or unintentionally. So again, folks, you got to strengthen your resolve to leave people behind. I didn't say don't help people, but you got to make sure that you separate yourself and create a cushion or a barrier between you and people who look to take advantage from you or who are not contributing to your growth and rise. Because in the end, if they can't be used, then maybe they're useless. That's all I got today, folks. I'm going to keep it short and simple. Make sure that you all like, share, and comment. Tell me whether you agree with this or not. Have you experienced this in your life with friends and family? Because again, most people are betrayed by people they know, not people they don't. Most are. Make sure that you go and get my book on Amazon. It's in the description section below. There's a link to Amazon. My book, Getting Dollars from Dirt, A Beginner's Guide to Vacant Land Investing, on Amazon. Folks, it's a book of knowledge on what I do, how I got there, the fundamental on owning land and why land is something that you should be investing in. And once you read that book, you definitely should be going to ancestrylands.com to get yourself a property. Remember, they said you'll own nothing. And it definitely is looking like in this market that that's true. So I'm going to say go to ancestrylands.com and get yourself some property before you're owned as property. Now that's all for today. Phil Davis, I'm your host. Hope you've been educated, enlightened, and least of all, entertained. Take care, folks. Make sure you like and share and subscribe. And I'm out. Peace.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you will gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you will gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.